A note to listeners, the following podcast contains content that may not be suitable for all audiences.
There's also a collaborative group within OHP and OSBI that are designated solely to this case, and they're going to be working with each other, OHP, OSBI, as well as the Federal Bureau. And so hopefully with that, with all the resources amongst each group, they're able to kind of push forward and find out a lot more information.
Noah was a daredevil. You know, he liked to do wild and crazy things. So, I mean, I've never seen him do anything like that, but I wouldn't say that it wouldn't be something that he would try, you know, and if that's what happened, then let us know, you know, just tell us. But that was the very first rumor that I heard, was that he had been surfing the ATV and they had an accident. He went flying, you know, landed and broke his neck.
Those injuries through the medical report, is it possible that they could have been given to him with a golf club as a result of being hit with a golf club, or is that not possible?
So we're working right now to get those photos sent over to our family medical examiner. But based off of the details of the report alone, she was able to claim that it could go either way, that he could either fall off a moving vehicle and gotten these injuries, or it could have been derived from something like a golf club or some other type of object being forced upon him.
You are listening to Partners in True Crime. We are your hosts, Rob and Cindy Dorfman. Hi, everyone. If you're enjoying the podcast, please leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts, even if it's one word.
And please subscribe to our website, www.partnersintruecrime. Follow us on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram to check out our weekly promos. We're also now on YouTube at Partners in True Crime. If you subscribe to our website, you'll be getting weekly emails from us and all kinds of promotions and things that we don't advertise on the podcast.
It's been 9 months since Noah Presgrove was found dead along a roadside in TERRAL, Oklahoma, and how he died is still a mystery.
Noah's family is hunting for answers, and they have hired private investigators in addition to current law enforcement who are on the case.
According to what we know about that night, there were approximately 40 to 50 young people coming and going to the party that lasted 4 days. It's hard for the family to believe that out of all of those people who were there, they still can't get a straight answer as to what happened that night.
The other interesting fact is that all weekend, everyone's phones and social media accounts were blowing up at the party. They were documenting every single thing that happened. And then all of a sudden, around 3:45 a.m. until after Noah was found, those social media accounts went dark.
What's really going on here? Why did some people lawyer up right away? Why are none of the stories adding up? And why isn't anyone talking?
Today we have Noah's brother Dailen and Noah's aunt Robin back on to find out what law enforcement is currently telling them. So let's hear what they have to say.
All right, so we're back with Robin and Dailen, two relatives of Noah Presgrove. We spoke to them last week about the case, just introductory, and they were going to be meeting with the OHP and getting hopefully some more information on the case. So I wanted to kind of get a little update from you guys. I mean, you guys are still getting a lot, we said before, still a lot of good, you know, you're getting press. I know Robin was saying she's not a big fan of Daily Mail, but it's got a big, wide reach. And so what did you find out, if you found out anything from the OHP?
You were asking the questions. I'll let you handle that.
Yes. So I did ask quite a few questions. Basically, from what I understood from it, that FBI is going to be taking over the case. They're going to be, I think it's a team of 5. Is that right, Robin?
I'm sorry?
Is it a team of 5 FBI agents?
I don't remember.
Okay, I just knew there was a small group that's going to be designated to the case. There's also a collaborative group within OHP and OSBI that are designated solely to this case, and they're going to be working with each other, OHP, OSBI, as well as the Federal Bureau. And so hopefully with that, with all the resources amongst each group, they're able to kind of push forward and find out a lot more information.
So is that all they did? The update they gave you is that the only update they gave you, is that they said that the FBI is kind of leading the task force and that, you know, OHP and OSBI will be kind of focusing on it, but the lead is going to be FBI.
I don't know. Yeah, that was mainly the biggest update from him. Other than that, he gave a lot of reassurance. Reassured me that OHP and OSBI have been doing everything in their power under their jurisdiction and power, and legal means that they've done everything that they can for this case. It's just been taking a lot longer. Especially if someone like me who doesn't know all the minor details. It is a long process that he was clarifying that, to get the geofence, to get all these warrants and everything like that, it's been a long process to do so. And so that's why it's been taking so long to update us. And so hopefully, again, going back to the FBI thing, with this larger agency with a lot more resources, they're able to get around a lot of this time-consuming things and able to push forth and get a lot more information that the OHP is kind of restricted on.
Got it.
So external FBI is coming in, not OSBI.
OSBI's been on the case.
In addition to OSBI, so
Yeah.
it's going to be actual federal FBI coming in.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I know they have a local office down there. That much I do know. So I'm sure it'll be operating out of there. So
I would assume.
Yeah. But independent of that, did they give you any kind of information on what they're looking into, or are they just kind of being very general with you right now?
I feel they're just.
I was trying to, I think Robin was just about to say, it was a lot of general knowledge kind of thing. I was trying to get a working theory from them. There wasn't a whole lot to go on. They're really leaning heavily on the medical examiner's report based off of just the evidence at hand. They're able to kind of look at the amount of trauma applied, but as much as theories go, there's really nothing definite. They have suspicions, they have some sort of working theory and process, but again, with the lack of knowledge, lack of evidence, there's a lot that they're kind of keeping hidden because they don't want to just put all eggs in one basket and rely on one theory when it could be something way different.
Yeah. Well, with the information that's out there right now, that's been in the news and stuff like that, and we looked at the video again that they put out there, I guess 3 days ago. That was part of the party. Even though it was a 4-day party, I mean, in the video elements that we saw, didn't seem like there was a lot of people there. It didn't seem like, initially when I read it, it seemed that when they talk about a 4-day party, kind of sound like it could have been like, because I've been parties, in high school and college, and, it can go from 50 to 100 people very quickly when people start finding it out. But the video that we saw, where it was like a montage of, Noah hanging out and then some girl slapping him in the face, just jokingly. And, and then another friend of his was like baiting him and stuff like that, and then ran off. And then obviously the signing with the Sharpies and stuff like that. Number one, it didn't look too raucous, it just looked like a bunch of kids having fun. It didn't look like anybody was doing anything dangerous. I mean, there was one kid standing in the background. It looked like he had a rifle or a shotgun. But in that part of the country, everybody's guns are pretty prevalent. So it wasn't too surprising. If that was like something like out in another part of the country, you'd be like, oh, whoa, but in rural area like that, it's not too surprising. What did you glean anything, either one of you, from, and I'll start with you, Robin, first, when you looked at those videos, what did you glean from that, and what did you think?
The slap game to me was just, I don't understand that. Why would you have fun just slapping your friends? But, to each their own. From what I understand, that's like a TikTok thing. But I mean, it really didn't look wild and crazy.
No.
So
that's what was surprising. It was surprising.
Just kind of hanging out. I know that some accounts there was as many as 40 kids, but it's always been in and out. There was kids showing up, kids leaving, So I don't necessarily think that 40 kids were there all at once. From what I understand, just from Facebook, a lot of the videos that were put out there were from later on in the evening. So
there was one Snapchat post that was bizarre. One girl had put up there that Noah's missing and had little weird faces. Had you seen that one before? I thought that was bizarre.
I've actually had a chance to talk to that girl about it. And she told me that, when she put it up, she didn't think that this would be the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of a like, oh, Noah's missing, kind of flippant,
Right.
and she took it down once Noah was found because, obviously it can come across as very crass, in this situation.
Sure.
But she was just like, I didn't think anything about it. Like, it was just like, oh, Noah wandered off, Noah's missing. And we didn't know. So
She's just a teenager. You do stupid things when you're a teenager, without thinking like the last thing they probably would think is that something happened to him.
yeah.
What some of the theories are that he was on the ATV and that's what happened.
He was surfing on top of that.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I mean, Noah was a daredevil. He liked to do wild and crazy things. So, I mean, I've never seen him do anything like that, but I wouldn't say that it wouldn't be something that he would try, and if that's what happened, then let us know, just tell us. But that was the very first rumor that I heard, was that he had been surfing the ATV and they had an accident. He went flying and, landed and broke his neck. And then the rumors have just gotten so out of control. Like, at this point, I'm surprised the mafia hasn't been involved, with these. It's insane, these rumors. So,
Like, what are some of the things that they're saying? I mean, it just doesn't, because to me, it's like, if that was an accident, if that would, like I was saying to you earlier, I mean, why wouldn't you report that? And I can understand sometimes kids get scared and they're afraid that maybe they're going to be held responsible. So I can understand that, but still, it's an accident. You're not responsible if you're doing some sort of jackass stunt on a side-by-side and it goes awry. I mean, there's an explanation for that. Having no explanation, now it goes into a different territory.
But even so, if that had been the case, then how did his body end up where it ended up?
that's the question.
That doesn't make sense.
Question.
What are some of the crazy rumors you're hearing that you feel like why you can't even believe it?
Dailen, you filled that one.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard rumors about him getting into a fight with a friend, and then one of the girls tried to help out that said friend and struck him with a golf club. I've heard him get into fights with some of the kids that were there that weren't from the area, which led to that. I've heard the car surfing thing, and then of course people get really, really outlandish with it and go really extreme, and it's one of those kind of things where it's hard to even read those kind of theories and to think about.
The people at the party, there's definitely people there were groups that didn't know each other, or they all knew each other.
There was various groups there. There was kids from Texas that were friends with the host, and there was kids from TERRAL that were just meeting our group of kids from Comanche. There was kids from Comanche and Duncan that knew each other and hung out, and it was just there was kids from Orion, kids from Eureka that they all probably kind of knew in passing but didn't hang out with a whole lot. So it was just a bunch of different groups.
Have you talked to anyone about the golf club theory?
Yeah, I've spoken to a couple of kids, and again, the stories conflict. There's one kid who claims that golf clubs were never present on the property ever, and nobody golfs around there and all that kind of stuff. And then I've heard from a few other kids that golf clubs were there. They were using the golf clubs earlier that day and all weekend to hit golf balls and hit other stuff. So it's really, again, going back to where stories conflict. It's hard to understand and really put all your eggs in one basket and say, oh yeah, this story is for sure, when that story conflicts with 3 other kids' stories. And so it's really hard to understand what happened and what didn't happen.
Does law enforcement have a list of names of all the people that were at the party?
I believe so, yes.
Because I imagine they dissected the video, even if someone didn't tell them where it was. I mean, some of the people are identified in the news articles, as well as the host of the party.
What was his relationship with the host of the party? What was her name?
His
Avery Joe.
Avery Joe, yeah.
His best friend is now engaged. They were dating at the time, to her sister, and so his best friend was hanging out with his girlfriend, his girlfriend lived there with her sister, and that's kind of how we got mixed up with them.
What are people at the people who hosted the party? What are they saying?
I haven't actually seen the host really say much of anything or heard from her. Her mother's been very vocal.
What is she saying?
Just a whole lot of nothing, really. Just that, they didn't do anything wrong, basically. And she keeps insisting the house has been searched, even though we know for a fact the house has never been searched. Like, Dailen, you can attest to that. OHP told you that, too.
Oh, so they're telling you that the house was searched by police officers and it hasn't been?
No, it's never been searched.
Well, why is she being so vocal if she has nothing to hide?
It's her kids, and I get that. Like,
I understand that, but if it was my kids, I would want them to tell the truth, and I would want the family of the deceased person to know what happened on my property.
Yeah.
I mean,
you have some morals there, I think.
Nobody there it didn't look like anybody. I mean, most people were drinking, and it looked like a lot of them were underage.
And most of them were underage.
So that's...
they're posting it all over the internet. It doesn't go away.
Yeah.
You can't take it down. If they were that concerned about it, then they shouldn't have been. They should have had a no posting on the internet rule.
Yeah.
People do that.
And they've gotten kind of upset, which I can understand, because some of the context that some of these things are being shared, the way that they're being shared, they've gotten real upset about these Snapchats and pictures and whatnot being shared. But at the same time, I've preached to my kids since they were old enough to know what social media was. And, you do not just post everything on social media, because it does not go away.
Nope. It's forever. It's forever. I'm just a little confused. I'm a little confused why she would say her house was searched and then law enforcement says it wasn't.
You're seeing a lot of that, where these parents are just starting to spit out a lot of false information, stating that, we're in contact with OHP. OHP said it's a hit and run. They just called today. They're releasing a statement later this afternoon, and then nothing happens. It's really weird, them starting to disperse all this false information, claiming that they're in contact and they know, all this inside details of the case, when it's in fact a lie and not true. And to me, that makes you look even worse. Why would you go out and claim?
Like, why are you lying about that? That makes no sense.
Yeah, why would you make something like that up? Even if you don't know anything, don't say anything. You just say, I don't know anything. I don't know what's going on in the investigation. I'm sure, hopefully, law enforcement is contacting these people. If not, if the people are minors, they have to contact their parents. But if they're 18, they can contact them directly. I'd be really curious on how many of those people they've interviewed so far. But like I said, the problem here is that initially they ruled it a traffic accident. So I think that might have, I don't know if that delayed a different type of investigation that could have been done. We've dealt with that before, where, the law enforcement comes in and they say, well, we think it's this. And so they start looking at it one way, they're just missing. Or, and then they don't go looking for them. They'll be back. We can't officially declare them it's a homicide or foul play until a certain amount of time is up. But with this, they found him. And, now that, and I think the medical examiner's report was very revealing, because, if you don't have that, it does look like a traffic accident. But now you have the medical examiner's report, which saying this doesn't match up to a hit and run. And then you also, fortunately for you guys, you have a relative who's a medical examiner who basically says the same thing. So that poses a lot of different questions that need to be answered.
Those injuries through the medical report, is it possible that they could have been given to him with a golf club as a result of being hit with a golf club, or is that not possible?
So we're working right now to get those photos sent over to our family medical examiner. But based off of the details of the report alone, she was able to claim that it could go either way, that he could either fall off a moving vehicle and gotten these injuries, or it could have been derived from something like a golf club or some other type of object being forced upon him.
Yeah.
So we just need those photos to send to her, and so that way she could further analyze exactly kind of what happened, what would have caused these multiple blunt force trauma.
And what is OHP or OSBI saying about the blunt force trauma? Are they not giving you a theory yet?
I mean, they again just kind of speculating. They kind of are moving away from the trauma caused by an object and more so towards a moving vehicle, but at the same time they're being open-minded about all possible outcomes.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you spoke to them and they told you that the FBI is going to be involved and OSBI is going to be involved and OHP, and they were talking about, you said something about warrants. They said that it's taken them a while to be able to get a warrant for, I would imagine, for the properties that where the party took place, I would imagine.
No, they had gotten warrants for the phone data, and for the GeoNet, and for the subscriber data, and then getting those warrants takes time. And then once they actually get that data, the way they explained it to me is it doesn't just come through as a picture or a video; it's pixelated, and so they have to, they have their computer forensic person, whatever they're called, have to kind of put these images together. And they said with the picture it doesn't take as long, but when you have a video, it takes a while. And so, and same with messages that were sent back and forth, and it takes time to get all that stuff compiled and put together.
Now, you guys have private investigators working on this. What are they saying at this point?
So their most recent thing is that this is a very critical time in the investigation, and they don't want to get our hopes up, and so they are working on some theories, but they haven't shared that with us yet, or at least with me. Have they shared with you what their theories they're working on?
No, not in full detail, but I got a call yesterday saying kind of sort of the same thing about it being a critical moment, and that they're going to work on it as quickly as possible so that way they don't lose this, whatever they're referring to.
Yeah, I'm just, to me, in all these investigations, you got to go back to the day one, and you got to go back to where you last saw him. You got to go back to all those things there's a lot of people, there's people there, and, based upon what the news articles, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, there was a thing where, he wanted to sleep in one particular bed, and then he was told he couldn't, and then he disappeared after that. Can you just kind of elaborate on that story? So I don't want to butcher it based upon what the news reports, but that's what they're saying in the news reports. What's the real story?
So that story was relayed to me by his best friend. Noah was wanting to sleep in the party host bed. He was drunk, he was tired. Supposedly he had just had this four-wheelers or side-by-side, whatever it is, tip over, and nobody was gravely injured in any way. He'd been given a shower and eaten. They fed him, they said. And so he was ready for bed, and he didn't want to go to sleep on the floor. And so he was wanting to sleep in the bed, and she told him no, that he couldn't sleep on the bed, that he needed to sleep on the floor with one of her friends. And he got upset and went and got his shoe and another party goer shoe because he couldn't find his other shoe, and stormed off.
And that's when they think that he took the side-by-side.
No, the side-by-side tip was before.
Yeah.
So
that's where I'm confused. So if their theory is that he was hurt on the side-by-side and broke his neck, how did he end up back at the house walking around,
eating,
taking a shower,
Exactly.
putting on shoes? If you broke your neck, you're not going to be moving around.
Yeah, they said
walking
after
around
the
and
shower,
arguing
to get dressed, and he was.
And you're drunk, and your neck is broken. I mean, come on, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, we're not forensic, but that's just logic.
That's exactly what we've been kind of working with. Is some kids state that the rollover happened at midnight. Some state that it didn't happen until after 3:00. And then they go to that theory of, it all occurred. I think there was one person on Facebook that claimed to be an MD or something like that, and said that he definitely sustained these injuries and the rollover, and then walked, from whatever else, an hour later walked away. Well, based on the report, how are you going to have internal bleeding, a broken neck, and a split skull?
Those
And,
injuries
and a broken spine.
Yeah.
Those injuries, you're not moving after that.
Yeah.
No.
It's horrifying injuries.
And
Those
at the time, that person was on Facebook saying that the family, we had the full report, but it hadn't been released to the general public yet. And so, I got on there and I didn't describe all of the injuries, but I was like, I highly doubt that he's going to be walking away with, these broken ribs and
no, that makes no sense.
Broken neck.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that the property wasn't searched by the police, because that is very reminiscent of what we dealt with Molly and Colt.
Skeptical about custom beauty? I get it. My feed is flooded with customize this, personalize that. Everybody's promising to fix my split ends, my dry skin, and my fine lines. And you know that all these products I buy, none of them have worked.
Lots of products she buys.
But now I'm so excited because I get to share this with you guys. We have partnered with pros, and when they say custom, they actually mean it. It's not a gimmick. Your formula does not exist without you.
And each and every bottle of Prosed custom hair and skincare is made to order, personalized with a unique blend of naturally powerful and proven effective ingredients to meet your needs.
They have this in-depth consultation that analyzes 80 factors for a complete view of you, your life, and your beauty goals.
Wow, that's a lot. And they get personal. Pros gets to the root of the problem. They cover everything from your diet, concerns, to exercise and stress, to uncover what's impacting your hair and skin health.
I love the fact that they even asked me for my zip code to assess the hard water, because that's a terrible problem in my neighborhood. And how, oh my God.
Hard water.
Right?
We have really bad hard water.
Really bad. So, and then they also tell you how this impacts my hair and my skin. And then they recommend an entire routine of truly personalized products that were not created until after I placed my order. So there's nothing pre-mixed, nothing off the shelf. And I know this from experience that their one-of-a-kind formulas equal 1 in a million results. Since I switched to Pros, my hair is shinier, stronger, fuller, and my skin is not dry. And I live in the desert. And everyone is noticing.
Yep, I noticed. You look fantastic. I
you.
can definitely see how Cindy's hair has grown so much since she has been using Pros. But don't just take our word for it. In a third-party, double-blind, dermatologist-supervised controlled clinical study, the gold standard in research studies, Pros proved personalized works better than off-the-shelf alternatives.
Try it for yourself and get the healthiest hair in 30 days or your money back. Pros is so confident that you'll love the results that they're offering our listeners an exclusive trial offer, so you can see the difference custom care can make. You gotta try it.
50% off your first subscription order at pros.com/PITC.
That's pros.com/PITC for your free consultation and 50% off your one-of-a-kind formula. Pros.com/PITC.
I mean, it's still happened 10 years later.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is one of those. This is one of those moments where I kind of want to brag on OHP, but then it's also like it's them also. But the way it was kind of described, and I can attest to this, was that the moment we got on scene and local PD got on scene, it was immediately claimed as a hit and run. It wasn't until OHP showed up that they started to question things and start to claim that it wasn't a hit and run, it was just a suspicious death. So that's me kind of bragging on OHP there, is that if not for them, then we would still be thinking that it's a run.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, OHP, if it wasn't for them, they would have just said Molly and Colt ran away. So, I mean, I like OHP, and we've interviewed them. They've been great, over the time. But what bothers me is that the initial reaction was, oh, this is a hit and run. That's it. Move on. Nothing to see here. Yeah. And it's like, how can you make that statement when you don't have all the information?
I'm just curious if, what's been going on for 8 months, I mean, why did it take so long for the medical examiner's report to come out that long?
They were holding it for the investigation. I think maybe, a little bit of the pressure that was applied to him once the media really picked it up, they finally were like, okay, we can't hold on to this anymore. And, nobody prepares you for this situation. So we didn't know any different. We didn't know that wasn't the norm. And so, every couple of weeks we'd be emailing the ME, hey, can we get the report yet? And they'd tell us, no, it's not time yet. Check back again in a few weeks, and check back again in a month. And we just thought that was the norm. And then once really News Nation came in and started telling us, like, no, that's not normal.
That's not normal. Just to explain to you, when we went and we did an excavation in this pond where Molly and Colt went missing on this guy's property, we drained the whole thing. We brought cadaver dogs. We were there for 2-3 days, drained the whole pond, cadaver dogs. We dug something up that looked like it could be a human tongue. After the dogs hit on it, said there was remains there. And so we called the medical examiner's office that day. They came initially they said, well, you can just take it to us and just drop it off at the front desk. And we said, no. It says, we're not doing that. You're sending somebody out here, and we videotaped them receiving it and going and driving away, the whole process. And they discovered, it took them 2 weeks to discover that it wasn't a human tongue, but it was priority. And that's the thing. You have to make things priority. And it just makes me a little weary that they waited so long. They waited 8 months to do something, especially since OHP already kind of said that there was something suspicious about this death, that it probably, could be something other than just a traffic accident. So why did it take so long? Because it just got released 2 weeks ago. I don't know when it was actually completed. Do you know when it was actually completed?
I don't.
So you never, you don't, because you said this sent a copy to your family member.
We got it about 2 weeks before it got released to the public.
Okay. So it was probably done 2 weeks before that, I'm guessing, because they probably were like
months.
That's months
later.
It's like, so we'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Long time.
So let's say it was 7 months. They did it in 7 months. That's a long time.
And the same with with the phone records. It shouldn't take 8 months for that. That should not take 8 months.
And we
know it doesn't take 8 months because we've done it.
Exactly. We've done it personally. We had a situation where we had to get warrants for our phone records. Didn't take 7 months. Probably would have took like about
3 weeks.
3 weeks, almost a month.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we were witnesses to a crime, and they had to have it for a case, and it took 3 weeks.
And it wasn't just our phone records; it was our internet
video
records,
and everything.
Everything. And this is LA County, which is huge. They have tons of cases, tons of caseloads, and and it wasn't like a life or death thing either.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
They got the data back towards the end of December, and then because I remember, I talked to them at the beginning of January, and they said that they were working on finishing up getting all of the data put together, and they were hoping to have it towards the end of January. So at that point, that would have been September, October, November, December, 4 or 5 months.
Yeah. And the other thing I saw in the video, and I don't know if I'm just seeing things, but there's at one point, and there's a wide shot, and it looks like the people are standing in the kitchen, and there's a Christmas tree in the background, which made me a little weird because I'm like, this wasn't in Christmas time.
No, it's September 4th.
And I'm like going, either they're really lazy and they didn't put their Christmas decoration up, but it made me suspicious of the fact that, is that video accurate? Because it doesn't look like it's in around the same time.
Yeah, it is. The mom of the kid that took the video, you can see kind of at the bottom of the screen, there's a leg, and it's got a pink brace on. He had just had meniscus surgery, an ACL surgery or something.
Yep.
And so he was sitting there with his little brace on, just filming. But it's a 22-year-old and an 18-year-old that lived there, and another 18-year-old that lived there. So it doesn't surprise me that the Christmas tree wasn't taken down.
Got it. All right. I thought it was kind of interesting because I knew when the time the party was, and it wasn't around Christmas time. So it looked a little alien, out of place. And
going to the priority thing, I know when we talked to our contact with OHP, the way it made it seem was that he still has his daily duties, right? He still has to go on all these calls and work other cases and stuff. And so that's why everything has been so slow moving. But thankfully, after doing all this coverage and everything like that, it was able to push them to kind of create another unit, OHP and OSBI, a little small group that their sole focal point is going to be on this case.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully with that being done, it's going to prioritize.
And unfortunately, that's seems to be the only way to get some things accelerated when it starts to get publicity, and because then they don't want the negative press on what they're doing.
Well, and also I don't think that they have the manpower or the time.
OHP doesn't.
No, they don't have the resources. So we understand that. I mean, we know a lot of people in law enforcement. We're pro law enforcement, but the early hours of these investigations are the most important. And that's always what's disturbing, is that when you hear things like, well, they didn't check the house or they didn't do this, and you're like, but that should just be standard.
Yeah.
It shouldn't even be a question. Why? I don't know. In our experience in that area, it seems like certain people have certain ties to certain other people, and they don't have to adhere to the rules like everybody else. So I don't know who these people are.
Yeah, it's a large family and a lot of ties to everyone and in every position. It seems like I know the reason I got for why they didn't get the search warrant was because Noah was found on the highway and not on the property. Another thing is that the property is owned by registered Native American. And
say it again.
Cut out.
That the body that Noah was found on the highway, not on the property. That the property is owned by a Native American, and that there was no concrete evidence showing that Noah had passed away or was in any contact with the property. So that was the reason I was given why they weren't able to get a search warrant. Now that might be different now, but at that moment, that's what the reason was.
I mean, the part where the party was, it was a 4-day party, so it's like, wouldn't that be the most logical place to start?
Well, it's the last place he was seen.
Right.
Well,
that's what I thought is the last place
they
we were
said
at.
That the government protects your property above all else, and just him being there at some point doesn't prove that anything actually happened inside that house. And so they told me it was very hard to get a search warrant because the government protects your property above all else.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to have something that suggested that something happened inside that house in order to get a warrant to get into that house.
Well, I agree with that, and that is the law. But if it was my property, and
I would have been like, come on in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whatever I can do to help.
Exactly.
And if this was the last place he was seen, I'd be pretty transparent, if you have nothing to hide. The problem is if they don't, and they may have asked them permission, they probably said no. Because that's,
they're claiming that they would search the house. So, they're just all over claiming that they let them in that house and they searched it.
So why are they saying that if it's not true?
Exactly. They're saying that, and our PI even told us that she asked to search the property, and they straight up told her no, that you're not allowed on our property. And I mean, the week or first month of this investigation going on, that family, the owners, they immediately lawyered up. And so it's really weird that you say all this stuff about justice for Noah, or you're pushing for the solving of this case, yet you're the one kind of almost hindering it at a point, with all the lies and lawyering up, refusing to talk, refusing to allow permission to search the property. To me, it just makes it look weird on you.
Now, in the news article I read, the family are big landowners in that area, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So meaning landowners, a lot of farmland, do they have a lot of money, or are they just landowners and they're just working class people? I mean, what can you tell us about them?
I mean, all I could tell you is rumors, because I personally have never met the landowner. I've never met the mother. And so, I mean, I couldn't give you a 100% honest answer. They own a lot of land, from what I understand. They have a lot of money. But just because you own inherited land doesn't always necessarily mean you have a lot of money. So I can't guarantee that they have a lot of money or not. I know that on the parcel to the north, there's a rock and sand quarry thing happening there. So I mean, that's probably generating some income. And they're getting ready to turn the parcel to the south into a rock and sand quarry also. But, liquidity wise, I can't tell you.
Yeah. I just think it's how soon after all this happened did they lawyer up?
Pretty much immediately. When OHP brought a bunch of the kids in for questioning on either, what was it, day 3? Dailen, do you remember? They already had a lawyer. They came in with a lawyer.
I know from kids, when I was talking to the kids, they were telling me that they were immediately being told by other kids and their parents that don't talk to the PIs. That was one. And then also you need to get a lawyer. That was like right day 2, day 1, whatever, of immediately don't talk to the PIs, don't talk to the lawyers. I mean, get a lawyer.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
I mean, I can understand if they feel like the kids are going to be held liable in some way. I can understand that. But that seems like a really kind of overreaction to what they think might have been a traffic accident.
Or side-by-side accident.
Yeah.
But that doesn't
it's just very suspicious. And, they're out here yelling about how we're just creating all of this out of thin air and we have no reason to be suspicious. But this behavior tells us that there's a reason to be suspicious. The lack of openness, the lack of honesty tells us that there's a reason to be suspicious. And if there had been openness and honesty to begin with, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Exactly.
Absolutely. What about any of Noah's close guy friends that were there? I mean, have you spoken to any of them?
Yeah. I stay in contact with his best friend.
Who's engaged to the sister of the girl that...
Yeah.
So she's the daughter of the mother who's running around saying these things. Okay.
Yeah.
What does he say?
He says he doesn't know what happened. He, for the longest time, just him and his family just kept insisting it had to be a hit and run because, who would do this to Noah? And now that the autopsy report has been made public and, they've kind of acquiesced on that and are like, maybe it's something else, but we just, we don't know. I see quite a few of them because my other nephew still kind of hangs around and buddies around with some of them. And so, I see them through him. And then also I live in the community that they live in. So I see a lot of these kids just out and about at Walmart,
Wow.
just running around at the corner store,
That's got to be hard.
Yes. I know. I know that probably not all of these kids know what happened. I don't think they all just gathered in a circle and watched whatever happened. I get that. I don't for one second believe that everybody at that party knows what happened. But I don't know which ones know what happened, and so that makes it a little bit harder to trust. I just sometimes, and maybe this sounds bad, but I see them and I can see their parents sometimes and I'm like, does your kid know what happened? Did they tell you what happened? It's just hard to have to see these people sometime. And I put on my big girl pants and I'm a member of this community and I don't want to be out here just blatantly screaming at everybody. That's not an adult thing to do. That's not a mature way to handle anything. But that those thoughts still run through your head. Like, do you know what happened? Are you keeping this from us?
Listen, the fact that they lawyered up so quickly, somebody knows something, and they're protecting themselves, they're protecting their family members, they're protecting their land. I mean, because there's a bunch of things that could happen with something like this. When it all comes out, and you do find out what really happened to Noah, I mean, if there's not a murder charge, it could be a wrongful death suit, and that's a civil suit. And, so there's a lot of things that could come of this. But I find it really strange that they lawyered up so quickly, and also the fact that the owners of the property said that the land was searched and the property was searched when it wasn't. Those are two red flags for me.
That's the weirdest thing, is that they just keep insisting that house was searched. And like, why would you lie about that? And especially when you've got Dailen and I that are actually talking to OHP, and they're telling us that no, we have never been inside that house. Why would you continue to go out there in public and tell us we're the ones lying, and tell this community that we're the ones lying? Like, it's just insane to me.
That's mind-boggling. Like, why would you lie? That's insane.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense at all. That's very suspicious. That doesn't feel right. And no, that's not right.
Yeah. So what about the group from Texas, the kids from Texas? This is very close to the border of Texas, correct?
Yes. Yeah. It's literally, part of their property is on Texas. That Texas state line runs right next to that house, right next to the road that house is on. And so literally, I don't even think it's a mile to the Texas border.
And then
you go to the west, and then south, it's just a couple of miles south.
Where they found Noah's body, I can't ask you, boy. You said it was like about a mile from the house?
Yeah, to the north of the house.
North of the house. So if you drew a straight line, it would be like a diagonal line, like across the property would be a diagonal line back to the house.
If you got a good throwing arm, you could probably hit that house with a rock.
Oh, so it was close.
Oh,
We're talking yards, not like a mile. Probably like.
Okay.
It's a mile to the north of the road.
Got it.
So, if you pull onto 81 from the road that house is on, it was actually, I think, 0.8 of a mile. But you can just, it's a field.
Yeah.
There's no trees, no nothing. So
it's flat.
You can just see the house. It's just right there. So.
Yeah. Pretty open.
Yeah.
No unobstructed views or anything like that.
Yeah.
Noah, did he have a cell phone on him when they found him?
Yes. So Noah had bought a new cell phone on Friday. He was very proud. He'd been on his Nana's plan, and so he had a little Samsung cell phone on Nana's plan. And that Friday, he went down and bought himself a brand new iPhone and got his own plan. And so he actually technically had two cell phones, but he did not take the Samsung cell phone to the party with him. He only had the iPhone on him.
And then any data off that could help you guys with anything?
So they did pull data off of it. I haven't been told exactly what was on it though. So they also pulled data off his old phone, but I haven't really been told a whole lot about what's on the phones.
Robin, was the phone and wallet missing at one point? I couldn't remember if that was.
The wallet's never been found. His wallet has still never been found. The phone, when he walked off angry, supposedly he did not take his phone with him. So it was at the house the whole time.
Got it. So he leaves the house, and then he's found less than a mile away from the house next to the roadside. Mm-hmm. And then he's found what time again?
He was found at 5:53, I think, is when the 911 call happened.
Okay. And no one, so he had been gone for how long? Did they think from when he left the house?
They think he walked off about 3:30 or so. Maybe 3:45, somewhere in there. I haven't gotten a full timeline pinned down. I know I was told the girl that was telling me, she was like, I was drinking, so I wasn't really watching the time, but she kind of guesstimated that this side-by-side tip over happened probably about 3, and then they gave him a shower after that, and then they had to chase him down and force him to put shorts on, and then they fed him, and then he tried to go to bed, so she's guessing like 3:45ish, 4, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm. See, that's a lot of things to be doing at 3:00 in the morning when you're all hammered. So no one saw him walking off.
No. So I do know that there is video of the party host and her sister on the front porch screaming at each other about Noah, about what happened, where he went. And so I know that was something that was recovered. That is something that I do know about.
What was the argument? What were they screaming about?
Noah.
They just wanted to know where he was.
Where he went, what happened.
That was another weird thing, was that all throughout the night, they're really hitting it off on social media, having all this time. Everyone's recording everything, and then 3:30 pulls up, and all social media is silent.
It was actually 314. 314 was the last snap that went out until the Noah's missing at 341. Was that what time the Noah missing one was out?
Something like that. 341, 347, something like that. And
Yeah.
that was what OHP was telling us too, was that it's really weird that everyone has their phone on them, everyone's recording everything, and then once that clock hit 3:30 or 3:14, whatever, it's just silent. Nobody's recording anything. Nobody even has their phone on them. There's, testimonies that these kids left the house to look for Noah, that some of them went into TERRAL, yet when they're looking at the geofence, it's showing that, only one person or whatever left the house. So the kids that claim that they left the house to look for Noah didn't bring the phone with them for some reason.
And these kids take their phone everywhere.
Yeah, they take their phone everywhere. And first of all, like if they're feeding him, putting him in the shower, doing all this, they're going to film it. They filmed everything else.
Yeah, they filmed him signing his butt.
And if they were like making fun of him, like if he was that hammered and they had to feed him and he was running around, they would have totally filmed him. That makes no sense.
Yeah, because if you had a stunt like that where you turned over a side by side and you come in, you're all covered with dirt and you're looking all disheveled. I'm surprised there's not video of that.
There's not one person who took a picture or filmed him when all night long they're doing it. That doesn't make sense.
You would think.
That doesn't make any sense.
Especially if he was fine.
No, there's something.
If they're saying that he was fine.
There's something not right there.
Yeah.
All right.
So what's the next step for you guys? And as far as you're just playing a waiting game with your PIs, I mean, they're still kind of gathering information, I would imagine. And it's good news that the FBI is looking into it. I mean, because they're, if there's foul play involved, that's their specialty. OHP, it's not their specialty. I mean, they can do it if they have to, but it's really, it's not what they do on a daily basis.
Yeah,
so,
the investigator we've been talking to, he's been very open with us about,
good.
Like he went, he's not trying to down himself, but he just told me, Robin, like I've worked traffic deaths. Like I've worked plenty of traffic deaths, hit and runs, stuff like that. He said, this is not something that I work every day. This is not something that I deal with every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was, he's been very open and honest.
Yeah, we know him, and we know exactly who he is, and
he's a good guy.
Yeah, he wouldn't steer you wrong in that way. He's not a duplicitous person.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, he would be pretty straight. I mean, he won't tell you things he can't tell you.
No,
but
but he's been very open with me about, just, and I hate to say lack of experience in this, but he's just like, this isn't something that we do every day.
Yeah, you got to bring a specialist in.
Yeah, that's just not what he does.
That's not what he does. That's not what he does. I mean, like I said, especially something like this, you need someone who's who investigates these types of crimes when there's more questions than answers, and when you can rule out a possible hit and run. And are they ruling that out altogether, or are they still holding on to that?
As far as I know, it's not a hit and run.
Yeah.
He said, the sheriff had initially ruled it a hit and run, and then once OHP got on scene and started looking at things and just talking and asking questions, they were like, "Yeah, no, this is not a hit and run."
Have you seen the police reports from the sheriff's department?
No, they won't release them to us because it's an active investigation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So your PIs can't get even a hold of
it. They've tried, but they were told no.
Yeah, that's pretty standard.
They tried getting a hold of the call logs and everything, and they weren't able to.
Yeah. Do you have any plans of meeting with the FBI investigators?
Heck yeah.
Have you been told?
I don't know if they're going to want to meet with us because we're out here talking.
They should. They should meet with you.
But,
I'm sure they will.
Do you know the names of the people that are been tasked with this case?
Not yet.
Okay. You should find out.
Yes. Yeah. I was planning on calling, our investigator that we're in contact with tomorrow, and getting updates and talking, because I know that they had a meeting coming up this week with the FBI. So
yeah. I mean, that's all you can do at this point. The more information that you can, gather by yourself just from and what they'll share with you, that's all capital for you guys. Because it's like, and then also, and I understand in murder investigations, they don't want to give out because they're preserving the investigation in case they do have to charge someone, but they should be giving you updates.
Yeah.
And even if it's like, hey, listen, this is what we're doing. We haven't no answers yet. And then always ask them follow-up, says, well, what is your plan? What do you plan on doing next?
Yeah.
If that doesn't work. Okay. But now that, you have families that have lawyered up, complicates a lot of things. Even if the investigators bring these kids who were at the party there, it's going to be a curated interview.
Yes.
So it's not going to be someone who's going to be willing to kind of spill the tea on what happened. It's going to be, it's going to be an interview where it's going to be coached.
Well, it was like the first interview.
Yeah.
It's
horrible. We feel so bad for you and your family, and having all these unexplained and no answers is got to be frustrating for your family. How would Noah's parents handling it?
So I know my Casey, his mom, she's tore up. She's very tore up. I couldn't, Noah was my nephew, and I loved him like he was one of my kids. But I mean, the fact of the matter is that he's her kid, and
Mm-hmm.
she's tore up. And then Victor is Dailen and Noah's dad. So how's your dad handling it, Victor or Dailen?
Yeah, I mean, kind of the same way. Just think about it every day. It's a small community, so everyone you see knows about it. Even if they don't say it, you can just kind of see it on their face, same as I do. It is a topic, and some people try to steer away from it, and then some people want to bring it up, and he has to deal with that every day. It's hard, and even when you want to not think about it and just think of things like normal, it's just it's not normal.
And as parents here, you never want your kids to die before you do. You always want to.
It's not natural.
It's not natural. So it's got to be horrendous to deal with, and we feel for them, and let us know what we can do for them as well. And but yeah, I think it's important if you guys want to continue. There's like if every any updates you want to do once a week, and we can talk to. I know one of your other cousins reached out, and we're going to have her on, Ashley. So we're just trying to, and anybody else that you feel like that we need to talk to kind of keep, the fire on this thing. Because you're fortunate enough. A lot of families don't have the attention that you guys are getting. So you're in a, publicity wise and notice wise, you're in a good place because people know about this case, but it goes away quickly. So you want to make sure that you keep capitalize on it and use it when you can. And like I said, any experts we can bring in to talk about this and analyze this, we'll bring in as well. And we're going to start
to look at the autopsy. Like, I would love to hear.
Yes.
We've been hearing from various, but like, I mean, I just, it's just so medical, and to just hear.
Well, we have a guy who is really good. So
we can see if he can look at it.
Exactly. Well, I'm going to probably give him a call tomorrow. But do you have copies of everything?
Yes.
Okay. So why don't you email them to us? We'll get it to him, and then he'll have him take a look at it, and then we'll have him on the podcast.
Please visit our website where you can subscribe to the podcast, find show notes, and check out extra content from all of our podcasts. All rights reserved. This has been a production of 722 Media Content.